So the final interest saving strategy that we're going to take a look at is that of using an offset account, essentially attaching an offset account to the loan itself. So first of all, what is an offset account? Well, an offset account basically is a type of savings account, but it's a special type of savings account that doesn't accrue any normal interest of its own. Instead, what it does is the balance of that account essentially gets subtracted off the loan amount that's going to have the interest accruing off of. It's not being paid off the loan amount. That's something that's really, really important, but it's lowering the amount that the loan is having its interest compounded from. And that's where the interest is obviously saved, because the interest of loan accounts are often far higher than the interest that you accrue off a savings account. So that's the benefits of having this. And to begin with, we're going to have a look at a nice simple example of an offset account, just to show the basic calculations that we need to be aware of when we're looking at trying to work out how much interest we're going to save in that. And then we're going to look at a bit more of a complex example, so we can also look at what happens when the offset account changes a couple of times throughout the loan. So to begin with, we're just going to say, hey, we've got an offset account straight away from the start of the loan itself, and we're going to put $10,000 into it. Now, we're doing this because the benefits of an offset account is as a savings account. You can access that $10,000 without redrafting the loan at any stage. Now, the downsides of that is it's going to put back up what the loan amount is that the interest is compounding from. So that's something that's going to be, special about that, or something you've got to consider about that, I guess. But we're going to look at what happens if we were to maintain that $10,000, we weren't to touch it at any stage, and nothing else was going to change in our loan, and we're maintaining our minimum monthly repayments of $2,773.65 right throughout. And it's important to maintain this to get the full benefits of that. So essentially what happens, first of all, is the time that it takes to reduce that loan to zero, and I do say zero, but essentially reduce it to effectively zero, is going to change. And I'll explain what I mean by this. So essentially, hang on, let's just change over to blue. So essentially, N is what we're going to calculate. Our interest rate is nice and simple, it's 6.39%. Now, our present value is a little bit different. So it used to be $415,000, and because we're taking from the bank, it's positive, but we're establishing a offset account straight away. So essentially the balance that the interest is going to accrue from is going to be $10,000 less than this. Now, it's really, really important to note that our balance of the loan isn't $10,000 less. It's what the interest is accruing from is $10,000 less. So the PMT, we're maintaining that. This was an approximate value, so it was negative $2,773.65. We're looking at getting the future value that the interest is accruing from to zero. And that's really, really important, because essentially when we get this to zero, what the interest is accruing from, you're still going to have $10,000 outstanding of your loan. The thing is, at that point in time, is that balances how much was in our offset account. So because they're the same, we've got an effective debt of zero. So I guess a book debt of zero. And that means that there's no interest being accrued at that point. You've still got to pay off that $10,000, and that's something that comes up really, really important soon in some manner. And you can either choose to continue the monthly repayments, or you can just use a one lump sum payment of $10,000 from the offset account you've got established. It's up to you, but it's important to note that you've still got to pay off that $10,000. So the PY and the CY during this are both 12. So let's go ahead now and just calculate how long it would take to effectively get the interest balance of zero. 6.39, it's going to be $405,000 basically. Needs to be zero. So essentially this is going to be approximately 283 0.01. We're dealing in months at the moment because our payment periods are months. So now we've got, effectively it's going to take 283.01, just basically 283 months approximately, to get the loan down to $10,000. That's what we're getting it down to. But that effectively means that we're not going to accrue interest on that $10,000 anymore, so long as we keep $10,000 in our offset account. Now you can just use that $10,000 in the offset account to pay off the loan, be done with it, and we're done. But now what we've got to do now is look at how much interest are we going to save. So this is where breaking it up into multiple parts really is useful here. So the first thing is, let's look at the original interest. So the original interest that you would have paid would have been, you were making 300 months worth. So, well, I say effectively 12 months of your payments for 25 years of, and this was approximately $2,773.65. That's effectively what you were doing. So the original interest that you would have paid, let's swap calculators. 12 by 25 by, interest, so we've got to minus our 415,000, and that's useful to do here. So it's approximately $417,095. Now, when we look at the new interest, this is where we want to break this down. So we've got to remember back from quite a few videos ago now that this first part here was the total that you need to pay back the bank throughout the loan. And then we need to subtract away our original loan amount. So if we start breaking down how much we have to pay back the bank, the first thing we've got to pay them back for is the 283.01 months worth of repayments. And those repayments were $2,773.65. What's important to note at this point, though, is that didn't reduce the balance down to zero. The outstanding balance of the loan at that point was equal with our offset balance. So it was $10,000. We still have to pay back the bank $10,000. So we have to add on $10,000 here. And this is the reason why I often bracket this all up, just so I've got that separated in my mind of how much have I repaid the bank in total. And now I need to subtract off the amount that my loan was originally for, and this will now give me my new interest. So 283.01. The brackets aren't required for this calculation, but I just do it for the sake of my mind, especially when things start growing in complexity, as they will in the next time, like the next example. That's 1,000, not 10,000. Make sure we put it into our calculator correctly. So the new interest is approximately $379,970.69. So now if I want to know the interest saved, it's going to be the difference. So it's going to be approximately $417,095. Subtract away the $379,970.69. So therefore the interest saved is going to be approximately $37,124.31. Now the big thing that I would say here that people frequently forget is this $10,000 that they still owe the bank at that point. So that's the reason I stress that quite a number of times. You still have to pay that off, and when you start doing the how much interest are you going to save, that's something that's very important that you have to consider, because otherwise you will get a wrong interpretation of how much interest you will actually save on that. Okay.